Have you ever pushed yourself further than you ever thought you could push yourself before? Have you ever pushed your body, maybe in a race or something, just beyond what you thought you were physically capable of? I remember in high school, football practice in the middle of the summer, and it's 110 degrees outside, and you're running wind sprints, and you got your helmet on and your shoulder pads on, and you're dying. And eventually, what happens? You throw up. If you've never experienced it before, you push yourself so hard until you just lose it on the field. Well, something happens in these moments. Something happens when we push ourselves further than we've ever been pushed before. And this thing is called endurance. Sometimes life feels that way, right? Sometimes life feels like wind sprints in the middle of August with our helmets and shoulder pads on, and we don't know if we're gonna survive. We don't know if we're gonna make it because we're exhausted by what life has been throwing at us. But something is happening in these moments. Something is happening is that we are building endurance. In fact, Paul writes about this in Romans chapter 5. He says, you ought to boast when you experience trials. You ought to boast in your afflictions. Now that sounds like something so weird, so counterintuitive to be writing, boasting in your afflictions. But Paul understands something. He said, you should be proud when these afflictions are happening to you, because they're gonna happen regardless. Whether you want them to or not, they're gonna happen. But when you can approach them with this idea that you're gaining endurance through your afflictions, something is happening in your soul. Paul writes, he says, look, you're gaining endurance in your afflictions, and your endurance is creating character in who you are to be more like Jesus. And that character is producing a hope within you. And Paul writes, he says, look, this hope is so important. This hope will never disappoint you. And the reason this hope will never disappoint you is because God is literally pouring his love into you in these moments. And so you can know and you can have this hope that God is with you when life is tough and when it's difficult and when we're in the middle of trials and we can't seem to see our way through it and we don't know how we're going to survive it. God is right there with you, and he is pouring his love into you, and you will not be disappointed by the hope that is being generated and grown within your soul. In fact, without the trials, in fact, without the afflictions, without those wind sprints running to throwing up, you don't gain endurance. And so I want to challenge you today. Don't see your trials as this terrible negative thing, but take time and boast in the fact that you are building endurance in your soul, and that endurance is producing a character within you that can withstand the things that life throws at it. And that character is producing a hope, and you can know that God is with you right now, pouring his love in you. That you are not alone in the wilderness, that God is right there with you. Have a great day.